So I want to thank everyone for coming in. I'd like to thank, the people who help us, which is Epson and Photo Shelter, Pro Photo Daily, American Photography, um, and Epson. I think I said Epson. So I want to thank everyone for being here. One thing, we'll put this into the chat room. If you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, that's really appreciated. That would be great. And I want to let everyone know before we start tonight, next week we're doing 4 or 5 nights straight with Ukrainian photojournalists who are covering the war in Ukraine. That'll be our 15th week of covering
Wow.
this conflict with, award-winning photojournalists. So we're really thrilled about that. I mean, the content isn't always easy to watch, but the storytelling from these photojournalists is nothing short of spectacular. So that's coming next week. Tonight, I'm thrilled to have Robin Schwartz and Meryl Meisler who are presenting. It's been a long journey to get these ladies, and I'm absolutely thrilled that we have them. And with that, Meryl, you can share your screen, and off we go. So again, thanks everyone for coming in. Hey, Stephen.
Okay.
Here we are.
So speaking of here we are, think about how I got to here, right?
Yes.
And we all have our beginnings. My dad, Jack, was a printer. He is a great photographer. Self-portrait, that's little Marilyn on my mother's lot in the Bronx.
Uh,
Yes.
yep.
And my father's father, Murray, machinist, he was a passionate photographer. He never showed his pictures. Maybe I saw one. So I understood Vivian Meyer, but if I saw my grandfather, there was a light meter in my face.
And where is all that happening, Meryl?
Well, I was born in the Bronx, but I
Okay.
moved, like someone else said, they moved to 3 and 2.5. I moved to Massapequa, Long Island. But if I
Okay.
visited my grandparents, it was in the Bronx. So
Right. Okay.
through their lives. First camera, age 7, my little brother Mitch. Oh, sorry. But then when I was in undergraduate school, my senior year, in studying art education, I took myself to MoMA, and I saw the Orbis retrospective. I don't think I went specifically to see it, but it's probably my first photography show, and it moved me, and
Right.
it's moved me felt deeply. And so I was going on next year to University of Wisconsin-Madison to get a
Right.
master's in art education, and I heard they had a photography department. I thought I'd learn how to use a real camera.
So that Orbis shot, Meryl, can you actually remember seeing it and thinking, I want to be part of that world? Like, what was that for you?
This right there, this is rah football game. University of
No,
Wisconsin in Madison football game. Yes.
but I was talking about the Orbis shot that, it had such
Oh
an
no,
impact.
I remember this one. I mean, just looking at it and thinking, they felt familiar to me. Like
Mm,
the room, the molding, it looks like my grandparents and my great aunts and uncles and cousins in the Bronx remind me of them.
mm,
We had a cousin named Big Bill who was big. And the little parents, even my grandparents, say, well, I never Papa always wore a suit. You know,
right.
but always wore a suit. Mama always wore a dress and stockings. It felt to me they felt very familiar
Mm,
and warm. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I see familiarity and warmth.
Right. Okay, great.
And then on to Wisconsin. So and my professor there was Cavalier Ketchum, who was a documentary photographer. And so I was exposed to the great documentary photographers. And of course, Lizette Rodell, Orbis's mentor.
Mm.
Uh, Jacques Henri Lartigue, when I saw his work, his photographs of childhood, playing with his family and friends, it gave me the inspiration. First of all, I thought they was hysterical, but I wanted to go home on my vacation and photograph my friends and family because they were very funny too. And of
Did you
course,
realize, did you realize they were funny before you started seeing this imagery, or one, dovetailed into the other?
um, no, I knew that I laughed a lot. It's like, dude, I have come from a heritage of humor.
Okay.
I actually grew up in the town where Seinfeld grew up. maybe it's something in the water, but like, I'm really, really funny people, but you're just naturally funny. And of course, seeing work like Helen Levitt, it was New York City. My my another work that blew me away was when he exposed us to work Versailles, his nightlife in Paris and the brothels. I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I'd say that my dad, my father and grandfather photographed Arbus, Model, Versailles, and Lartigue, and sprinkle in some of Levitt. Those are really like great inspirations. My keyboard is misbehaving. I just want you to know that it's not. Okay. So on my vacations, I started photographing my family and friends. This is Rosh Hashanah, my family in 1974. I told you it's misbehaving. I'm sorry. Oh, so I'm doing self-portraits, and of course, this is going up in the this is very Lartigue, the outfits, saying, "Oh, I have those outfits, tap and ballet outfits up in the attic." Bad.
Meryl, how old are you now when you're taking these photographs?
I am starting at 22.
Okay. Okay, great.
Self-portrait, my Girl Scout outfit, uniform in the rubbish room. But then my parents, like I said, I knew I'd come from comparative humor. My parents belonged to actually started up a mystery club of around 13 couples. Yes, all Jewish, very tight, very close, and they would go on mystery evenings where one couple would come up with an idea, you couple being the women, would go up with an idea, send invitations out to the other ones, and they were just told where they had to show up. Could be at a graveyard, it could be a supermarket. So what if they had to eat beforehand, they'd dress specially. And they would go to like go on tours of nudist colonies. They would go to haunted houses. I would, imagine being 10 years old and your parents hysterical laughing, waking up and like, what did you do with the mystery club? They went to the continental baths. They can imagine if you're sitting next to naked men in bed and watching a performer. Liza's husband, Pete. So these are mystery club families. I knew I wanted to photograph the mystery club.
So, Meryl, I mean, where do you find paisley wallpaper?
You know what? It was anyone else here from Long Island? When I developed my film and made contacts and showed it to Cavalier, Wisconsin, Ketchum, he goes, "What is this?" I said, "What do you mean? What is these homes? This decoration? This like that?
Wow.
This is where I come from. Everyone's home looks like this."
Right.
It was just a style. Okay, sorry, I'm sorry for the misbehavior. I don't know why. It's okay. And this was a photograph of, and again, these are all people I knew my whole life. Mrs. Israel and her mother, and I went to school, ballet school, and high school, and elementary school with her daughter. When I graduated from, got my MA from University of Wisconsin, I took my portfolio of Long Island pictures, and I wanted to study with Lizette Waddell. And she picked up this picture, and she said, this got me in the class, and she said, "You should show this to John Skorzelski, MoMA." I was too shy. I still, I never did, but it got me in the class.
Right.
Come on. Okay. I don't know what, maybe I should know what, I don't know what's wrong. I'm so sorry.
We'll figure it out.
So moved to my cousin's house in Upper West Side, and I lived in a house number 63, and I'd photograph people on the street. You're right. I did not. I don't know what to do. I think I should stop sharing and maybe go to the PDF. It's just not rolling.
Okay.
Okay,
Do that.
sorry.
No, it's fine. It's always something.
It's always something, right?
It's Zoom.
I thought I had
All right, share again.
Okay, hold on. Okay, well, it's not gonna work now. Okay, so on the block, going out at nighttime, clubs, hitting Studio 54. Someone I met at Judy Jupiter, went on the right, we're still friends, going to Studio 54, clubbing. And then I got a job at I was a senior photographer for 2 years,
J-
working photographing Jewish New York. I used my
Hmm.
Long Island.
That shot on the stoop, right?
Yes.
Did you
Yes.
pose that, or you're just walking
No,
by? And
no, I'm not a posy kind of person. They were sitting there, they were hanging out.
right,
But I'm a kind of person who asks permission, so.
okay,
I don't see any pictures.
yeah,
Oh, you
you're
don't see
not
a picture?
sharing. Yeah, you're not sharing anymore.
Ay, ay, ay. I'm a
The
mess.
the last one we saw
Okay, all
was
right,
the
go
stoop
back.
shot.
Okay, let's try again, share.
Okay. Okay, there you go.
Okay, well, you know what? I know it's not a full screen, but let's go with it, whatever works.
Okay, if it's working. Okay, great.
Okay. Okay. This too, yes, no, I saw we've done number 63.
Yeah, here we go.
So they're just sitting there, just they hung out. And this
Right.
is the same house. Just so that's the house I lived in, and no, I did not pose his kids. They were playing. Did I ask for
Yeah,
permission? Yes. But that's it. But of course, the tree is still there.
of course it is. Yeah.
Yeah, because my cousin, she owns the building.
Right,
And
okay.
like I said, I was working for CETA, photographing Jewish New York for American Jewish Congress. And some things were very obvious, like going to Purim.
Yeah, and you can see that you're sort of growing up, right? You're leaving the neighborhood, you're leaving your house, and now you're going to the street, right? CBGBs and all the rest.
Yeah, and then yeah, anyone who grew up in Long Island, you walk around. I mean, you could walk, you know, the mall, see your friends, but not the action of New York City. So it's very exciting. And think Lower East Side. And this is a friend of mine, Mr. Katz, was an elderly friend of mine, a friend of mine, and he took me to see his synagogue or visit. And when this man with the tallis, and he asked my name, I said Meryl Meisler. He said, "Oh, you're a Galiciana," and Galiciana is like not Galicia, Spain. It's the area that was Polish, Hungary. I said the Meislers are Galicianas. It's like I felt like he knew that's the word. I said, "Yes, how'd you know?" He said, "By your name." I said, "What? Tell me something about Galicianas. What do you know? What do you know?" He said, "They're known for their sense of humor." It's like, oh,
I got
actually,
that, right?
like,
Yeah.
oh, so there is something. When when CETA ended and I was unemployed, I was gotten used to a steady paycheck, and I'm a very middle class person. I wanted stability. So I became in New York City public school. The freelance illustration life wasn't me. I didn't have the drive or the patience for the checks to come in. And so I became a teacher, and I taught from September 79 to June 2010. But during that time, and yes, I was a national award winning teacher. I just still did great work. But I also, one of the neighborhoods I taught in was Bushwick, and I would take pictures outside, but right across the street, outside the window, things I saw at school with a point and shoot camera. I actually got mad at photography. Like, what am I going to do with all these pictures? So I would start painting on them, like
Mm.
how I saw them, realistic painting, because I have an illustrative background. And then another series was doing photographing landmarks and combining with my underwater pictures. That's one of the first people trained by Adobe with Photoshop.
Right.
I got tired of it.
I
And
mean, that had to be like, I mean, what inspired you to go in that direction for that moment, Meryl?
well, once when I scuba diving, well, was my mother, my wife wanted to convince all our friends to learn scuba diving. Of course, no, I'm the only one who finished my license, and my mom had retired to Florida. It's like, okay, why not? And it was nice, and of course, I like to photograph, so I got a Mykonos underwater camera, And I would also try to photograph while I was underwater. And one time I literally had a hallucination, a vision, like New York City underwater, like seeing Atlantis. So I decided to first hand painting it, what I saw, and then this new company called Adobe saw my work and invited me to learn Photoshop.
Okay.
And but then, you know, and I was always just like Linda is part of a group called PWP, Women Photographers. I've always been showing and doing work, a lot of it mixed media work. But in 2007, I was contacted by another teacher, someone who taught in Bushwick, and he was wanting to apply for a grant from to have a show at the Brooklyn Historical Society about the changes in Bushwick. I was teaching in Manhattan by then, and he couldn't find photographs of Bushwick besides the you know the riots and things on fire. And his colleague said, contact Meisler. She was always taking pictures, and so we did this show. And it's the first time I started digging through my slides, looking for things at Bushwick, and realized, you know, it doesn't matter if they were taking with a little plastic camera or they even had mold on them. They were kind of sweet, like Helen Levitt. So for 3 years while I was still working, I was like looking through my boxes and finding more. And so when I finally retired, well, not finally, you know, well, when I did retire, I tried to really be a full-time artist, which I would have always done if I was born wealthy. No, but I'm not. I wasn't. Or if I married a rich man instead I married a woman who doesn't make a lot of money. You know, it's like, so that was my path. But I had an inspiration to, besides that, I was fascinated by these little pictures I was finding of Bushwick. My extended family member is Ruth Gruber, who didn't have her first solo show until she was 85 and got the Affinity Award from ICP. And her digging and encouraging. My friend Arlene Gottfried was starting to really show more steadily and publish books. Another friend of mine's mother's best friend, Rebecca Lepkoff, he's saying, you know what, hey, I made Rebecca's website. Now she's like someone to work for 10,000. And of course, while I'm also going through my work and looking at it, the story of Vivian Meyer came out. And I'm going, oh, you know, a nanny, a teacher. Hardly ever saw her work. Hey, people, I don't even know what I have here, or my grandfather. It's like, yeah, just keep digging. And when I retired, some people here know Marilyn Fish Glenn encouraged me to apply to Soho Photo for a guest exhibit. And she wanted me to use my underwater fish pictures to apply. I said, no, I'm really into this Bushwick work. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, so Meryl, as you're digging through your archive, are you remembering those moments? And I mean, how inspiring was that for you to go back and see all this work?
I'm still inspired. You know, it's like shocking. It's surprising. Like you remember moments and you realize, damn, they're good pictures. No, or they're important, or who knew they'd be hurt. So I had a show a Soho Photo, and someone afterwards is a little girl with blue shorts. She emails me. She found her picture. It was on show at Soho Photo. We ended up collaborating on several exhibits in Bushwick, which was very meaningful to have the work exhibited where it was taken. And the Bushwick art scene was getting, you know, growing. So,
so why do you think that's important, Meryl? Like, give us context on that, showing images in that space.
Oh, it just feels like the right thing to do.
As simple as that.
You know, or that people there now see their history, it belongs in. It's like, I don't even know why you even asking that question. It seems like just like the perfect idea, just like what actually you're talking about in St. Pete's. I showed my Fire Island work in St. Pete.
Yeah.
But it was more special to show it in Fire Island. It just feels right.
Yeah. No, I was looking for, you know,
a profound thing.
Yes.
Feels like the right thing to do. How's
Fair
that?
enough.
Makes me like,
That's perfect.
this is where it belongs.
Yeah.
And in this drag burlesque bar in Bushwick, I go into it's like this club is bouncing, and I'm in the bathroom. It's a disco ball, and I had an epiphany that my worlds collided.
Yeah.
That when I was teaching in Bushwick for 14 years, it felt very homophobic. And like if you told me that there would be a drag burlesque LGBT community there, yeah, right. I
Yeah.
can't believe it happened. And I had like and he couldn't say it, but I have this other bodies of work, and this drag burlesque bar wanted to show my work in their basement, and I thought they were crazy, and I realized this is the right place to do that. Well, I go on and on, but that they ended up becoming my publisher. He's a Frenchman named Jean-Stéphane Sauveur. He's a filmmaker, and he didn't want to just show my work in the basement. He wanted to publish it. I said, well, I don't want to just show my Bushwick work, see, because he thought it's history. I said, I want to show my nightlife work. He said, nightlife. I said, yeah, it's a long story, but I went to the clubs. I went to discos a lot, and I have lots of pictures. He said, can I see them? I said, well, I have to find them and scan them. I've never shown them for anyone. And I can't, and because I'd been having several shows about Bushwick, I would see a picture. I said, it's a match for, these people with this, coppers and joints in Studio 54. And he was down in South America working on a film, and I started showing him ideas of matchups, and he said, I got it. And this was in and I was applying to like the big photo book publisher, one of the first ones.
Passion?
Well, Daylight approached me, but with someone else.
Someone will put it in the chat room.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So this is the period for you that you're just exploding creatively.
Yes. Well, I was like, I was waiting, I was waiting for 30 years, 31 years to do this full time. And I was like, I'm working, I'm blowing up. And
Wow.
I said, okay, I thought he was crazy. You can't do a book in 5 months. It's like, well, let's give it a try. And my wife designed it. We edited it, we sent it off to China, got printed, and it went viral. Okay. Wow. And that made that's when people started hearing who Meryl Meisler was. So that was 2014. And then I have this huge body of work, and it seems to really go together. From that, like, because I said, the book took off, and I mean, you never know who'll go to a drag burlesque bar in Bushwick. WNET, PBS came down there, and the New Yorker photo editors came there. You don't know who's going to show up anywhere, so I'm all for exhibiting in alternative places. And when I was showing the work, with how people reacted to Bushwick art, the work was like, it wasn't just sad. It was people having fun and joy, and now it made it different. And so he said, let's do another book. Pay this one off. Let's do another one. And I said, I know what I want to do it about. I want to do it about growing up in Long Island, coming to New York, the differences, and I called it about purgatory and paradise because it has to do with my introduction to anti-Semitism as a child. I was told by a neighbor's child that I would never go to heaven when I'm 6 years old because why? Because you're Jewish. I said, what? I said, well, the best you could do is go to purgatory. And go, what is that? What's purgatory? And so when my first paycheck as an illustrator, I bought the antique illustrated Purgatory and Paradise, illustrated Dante's Inferno. I needed to own it. And so this book was about New York City, guy on the left, and then Long Island, but this was a different Long Island, Fire Island, which was very different from the Long Island I knew. I knew more the one on the left with the butterflies, but then going to the Copacabana at night. My little cousin in the restroom on Rosh Hashanah, going to CBGBs. I didn't even know that some of the people were well known. I didn't know this was still Bader's. I just thought he was an amazing looking person. And if you don't, and the contrast of like the Mystery Club
Mm.
and the Bowery.
Right.
So there was several years. There honestly, it was a tragedy in my family, and so I could not think of anything else. And then 2021 was going to do another book with Bazaar, and the pandemic happened. He's closing down the club. He was working on a book project. I mean, a major film project, and he said, "I can't do it again." But he helped me edit it from start to finish, just out of the goodness of his heart. He's my friend. And I did get a grant from Leonian Foundation. It's like we got so it's self-published. So there was before it was published with one other person. So this is self-published, and started to go back into. There was so much I had from the Bushwick area, and just because it was even grungier. And the first one, I didn't think it was a good book. I didn't think it would come out, so I held back some of my strongest work. So it's more about disco and Bushwick, but I go into the grungier sides of the clubs and also about the inside the classroom. And so here I am with my little point and shoot camera. That's Ron Galelo. And again, the striking similarities, composition, people, and energy. And a lot of people, I mean, I knew these kids. You know, these are my students. I knew them, and having the picnic here, and one of the first Hotasa, a very famous person who was on the arms of Salvador Dali, and of course, it was a teaching coming into going to get supposed to get a interviewed photograph for Newsday because I'd won a teaching award, and there's a love note for me on the floor. This is Meisler Savich. Always remiss. It's a great job. And okay, I'm going back. I lost my spot. And then there's some things that just don't. Many things change. We talk about neighborhoods that got better, this and that. But here we are in Bushwick Cafeteria, and this boy's wearing a shirt that says, "Stop killing the Black youth." You know, our society is really damaged.
Yeah.
Latest book.
And Meryl, how old are some of these books? And can we get these books from on your website?
Well, I am very happy to tell you that the first 3 books are totally sold out. Editions of 50. And that is so anyone who says I don't have a real publisher or distributor, editions of 1500. No, even with all the press, like DAP would not take it, this and that. Just having Strand talks, things like that, every one of them sold out. So you get, I think there's like 6 copies less of Paradise Lost at Strand. So pick them up because they will go up. Contact them now because if you want,
there you go.
you do it. So this is the newest, and it's from iShot, which is street photography, street. They focus on street photography, and someone I met through Instagram, who lives in Japan, introduced my work, and they expressed interest 4 years ago, and then all of a sudden, like last year, okay, let's do it. And I sent them lots and lots and lots of my and this was going to be different. We were going like with John and Bazaar. We sat side by side and edited. It was just such close friendship. And here I'm talking in Italy, and I said they want to play with my pictures. I said, go for it. You know, I like being curated, but I also knew they understood me because it starts off with some of the early pictures, like that's me and my little brother, me and my big brother, photographed by my dad, and one of my first pictures of my little brother. The three Meisler kids, and the little Meryl with her crown, and on her 5th birthday. I mean, I could take this picture now. You know, this is very much the same again. And these are in the book. It starts off with little Meryl and a mom and grandma, and the 3 Meisler kids are in their car. My brother's going to camp, and I moved to New York, and then it also, we were talking streetwalker, and I came up with the title, if anyone ever gets approached by iShot, contact me and I'll talk to you in private about working with them. So I submitted a lot of my street photos. And of course, when you say street water, it's like Times Square.
Right.
Yeah. When the Times Square was not what it is now. It was actually really Times Square. You're like, you know.
Wow.
And I think it's also amazing when you because I know I'm not alone digging through your stuff. You see things that you didn't see last time. It's like I didn't see this photograph, and this is very, because it's in Soho. It's so romantic to so many people. And how did I? And I spent some time in the go-go bars too. I worked as a hostess, greeting people in and bringing them in. I never made so much money in my life. So because of that, besides this is the club scene, the women kissing, but since I knew the go-go girls, sometimes I bring my camera, and this is the little Brazil, you know, I'm between Brazil. Besides photographing in nightlife and the club scenes, like, okay, I'm not going to brothels, so I'm getting close to it. And of course, iShot did pick some work that was in my other books. Most of it's new, not when I say new, unseen work up until now. And I realized I've always had a fascination with cars because my car culture, but when my dad was not working and he wasn't taking pictures, he was underneath the car fixing it. So I went even through CETA. I went to see where my coming of age story is. I went to the street my mother grew up on, and I mean, this could be my dad. The circus, Lundy, the big
Lundy's on Sheepshead Bay.
Yeah.
So going through it, was it always positive for you, Meryl? Were there some things that brought back sadness, or did you have a whole range of emotions as you went through your archive?
Well, I mean, I actually, some things I wrote down. I do pictures of me crying, or like I wrote a sad moment. I will gladly let you know that I am a doing well clinically depressed person, you know, so I realize and you know, therapy and medication, it works, and photography and art and life. But I realized looking at my pictures that even in Bushwick, I didn't photograph like the graffiti on the walls because they're usually young people I knew who were killed. But this took time and perspective to realize I had always looked for uplifting things. I was lifting my own mood. It was like my own endorphins. So I tend to have always been interested in photographing people expressing joy or energy.
Right. Beautiful.
That attracts me.
Right.
Opposites attract. And of course, when I was in this so there's other areas. This is actually Sunrise, Florida. And this is, I mean, these are, you know, people I grew up. I'm living 2 floors down. And of course, you can go to Purim now, it's the same. It doesn't change.
Right.
People cleaning. I'm going to go fast because I know we don't want to spend all night here. But cleaning, it's the house I grew up in. Little Girl Scout at work. And I still have, that's on my list. If there was, someone said, is there one more picture you could take? It's me back in that Girl Scout uniform and the braids, because I have them. I'm just waiting to clear my plate to do that. Okay. My friends, Wisconsin, going back to Wisconsin, I've never seen such long hair. Going to Mardi Gras, and again, for many people, Mardi Gras is a pivotal experience. Going to Mardi Gras '77 with the home of a photographer who traded work with me, Michael Smith, was a life changer. And honoring color TV. And even at the time when I took these pictures, I remember I knew this was very old-fashioned. I knew when I saw this movie theater that it could have been taken in the 1930s. I mean, I sensed it as I was doing it. I knew this could be a WPA picture, but I'm not a I'm educated in photo history, and I felt it. That it was like I couldn't believe that this was happening in '77. This could be This could be the Dutch Bowl,
Yeah.
and the expressions of people in the bus. And here we are. I'm going San Francisco, going on a trip north to San Francisco, and like this is a photograph I didn't see what it was until many times looking through this the close-up view, the sophistication of it.
And when you were going through this, were you looking at contact sheets or were you looking at prints?
I do
Or
have
both?
contact sheets. I could read negatives. I just pick up my negative pages and go like this. The contact sheets are curly. I'm a printer's daughter. I can read print upside down and backwards. No, I can. And I'd never shown any of my work from like Castro Street in the heyday.
Right.
And of course, who's playing? He's wearing a shirt. It's like the gay man's chorus. Actually, the person who was performing was Sylvester, but I didn't take pictures of Sylvester. I took a picture of the people on the street.
Yeah.
And I liked how the shape of him and the shape of the arm talking with that's my mom getting her hair done. That's the May Beauty Salon. And here I am with my spouse Patty, and she was in San Francisco at the time, moved up, and my mom here in Lower East Side at Sammy's Romania.
Ah, Sammy's, yeah.
Again, and then Castro Street Fair, yes, Patty, and Fire Island. Woo! And that Fire Island was very, very different than the Long Island I knew.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I know like Vincent's digging through his work. I mean, I know enough of many of you, Linda, and both Lindas. I didn't blowing through, and I looked through my Fire Island work before. I didn't see this. I didn't understand how this was such a Meryl photograph, and such a special gesture. And it kind of goes well with the naked bottomless waiter of Mardi Gras.
Right.
With the crowds in Mardi Gras and the upside down yoga. Again, this is Cherry Grove, and it says, I think, Hurrahs. And I love discovering new photographs that I didn't see before.
Mm.
Going to Las Vegas, the wedding chapel. And at the time, of course, I was aware of the stories and the movies,
Right.
people, the one-day weddings, on the moment weddings in Las Vegas, and someone going to cash out all his money.
Mm.
Get a free cocktail. But when also I was delighted that Aisha also said, but we'd also love this picture. And he saw something of this. This is contemporary. I'm back to shooting nightlife.
Right.
This is 2 years ago. And and this is a couple I've become friends with. They were behind the scenes getting ready at the house, yes, and I just felt the intensity of the moment, and it goes very well. Like this is another pic. Actually, I should have said these are spreads from the Streetwalker book. The ones I'm showing you. These are double page spreads.
Right.
And it's a double page spread. These could be the same moment, but like, you know what? This is 1978 in the Pines, and this is 2002 in Bushwick, 2002, which is really bizarre. Or this Upper West Side on Broadway, and these are side by side. And this is 2023 in South Slope. And I know a lot of from
handmade.
I knew a lot of performers. I said, you know what? It also took me going.
Using some explosives like
I had a show in Berlin, which I feel so lucky to say that. And in 2021, and they included a variety of my suburban and nightlife and bushwhack pictures. And I said, well, you obviously you want to go clubbing with us? We'll take you to club. They said, go clubbing. I said, sure, why not? And I went, and you're not allowed to photograph in Berlin. You can't even take your phone. They either take it away or cover it up. And I realized, in New York, I know that. I mean, I stopped photographing. I said, oh, I'm going to take this picture. The same pictures I took 40 years ago. It's like, well, maybe that's just the very reason. Or the very reason that I actually know the performers from my relationship through Bazaar. It's like,
Right.
So they knew my work as a photographer, and they respect it. And they allow me to take what I asked to go photograph behind the scenes. And so this is a spring book, but this is 2024 and 2023.
Mhm.
But I'm looking for the same things purposely. And of course, using the same format and actually using film, it's going to look the same, but that's kind of part of it.
Yeah.
So some things seem strangely familiar. You know, sometimes by test strips, I made some outfits, and I'm wearing a little crown. Well, it's kind of like the little crown when I'm a little girl. I mean, I'm still friends with my best friend from Long Island. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I've gone back to using the camera that I love, which is my Dorito. I also have a Pentax that was heavier. And this is my choice. Of course, I have digital cameras. But I'm liking going with less arrows.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
challenge of it all.
Like a glove, it just fits, right?
And I think clubs, it's very hard to take pictures in the dark. I like the challenge. And this is my dark room and an outfit. Well, this is very much like my ballerina.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's a self-portrait I did in 1975. And this is 2023. The same mirror.
Yeah.
Just updated photographs. So I guess I'm a little sentimental. And I did go back to learn my darkroom skills, and I have my basement in Woodstock.
Right.
I have films to develop and prints to make.
Beautiful.
Ta-da.
Yeah. Great. So do you sell prints too, Meryl?
Yes, I'm knock on wood. I am represented by Clamp Gallery,
Oh, great. Good.
Chelsea, and Polka in Paris.
Great.
And
Beautiful.
I don't say, oh, it's Tuesday. Gee, what do I want to do? Fun. I want to go in the basement. No, I print I print when I'm having an exhibit or
Okay.
when there's sales. It's not like I say, this is what I like to do for fun. Go in.
Yeah, yeah. No one says that. Yeah. Yeah. You have to check the chat room there, Meryl. There's so many beautiful comments. But thank you very, very much. Are you going to be able to stay around with us?
Never believe.
Great. Okay. Because
Yeah. And I want to see it.
we want to get Robin on. So thank you very much. Stick around. Well, yeah, and like I say, check the chat room. You'll see
Oh my God.
all the wonderful comments. And with that, we'll get Robin on.
Okay.
Thank you, Meryl. All
You're
right,
welcome.
Rob. Let's get Robin on. Robin, you share your screen and off we go.
Hi, I know that Jay is going to play the first my first film. Thanks, Frank, for inviting me, and it's just taken me 5 years to get back to you. And Jay, thank you for your emails and organizing everything. So the first part of my presentation is about a 7-minute video that I updated for a Rutgers University last year presentation. And I learned how important audio is in hearing a friend's voice after she passed. And I teach with this approach. So here goes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay. This keynote is modified from my 2019 presentation at the SVA Theater in New York called Inspired. 12 photographers and editors had 6 minutes to present a 1-minute introduction and 16 slides on a 20-second loop. I'm trying to keep that format. I only want to photograph animals. With the exception recently of rescued flying fox bats, I do not do wild. Editors have taken a chance on me for animal-geared assignments. All have included people. Photography has been my passport to connect to specific animals and their interspecies relationships. These experiences are paramount to photographing. I am educated every day by other photographers. This presentation shows only my early influences with selected publications. I was born attracted to cats and primates, and I painted them. I stole neighbors' pets thinking I was saving strays. My second book, Dog Watching, is about my obsession with specific breeds in their environments and hanging out with dog packs. At 19 years old, I identified even more with strays after my father died and my mother lost our home. My Pratt graduate teacher told me to photograph what I cared about. Captively bred primates, ranging from gorillas to marmosets, were published in my first book, Like Us, Primate Portraits. I am especially drawn to animals coexisting in urban locations. In 1987, I photographed Arabers, men with a long history with horses. They reminded me of my grandfather, a junkman with a cart horse. We connected on an animal level, and they liked my photos of primates and dogs. I was thrilled to ride a horse on the streets of Baltimore. Mary Ellen Mark's photographs fascinated me. I wrote to her in 1990 on the back of a large test strip of a monkey. She invited me to her studio to show my portfolio. She sent me to 5 people, including the editor of Life magazine. This serendipitous photo of my daughter, Amelia, and Ricky began our ongoing project. Aperture published 2 books on the Amelia series, Amelia's World and Amelia and the Animals. This project saved me while I juggled motherhood, a dying mother, and proving myself at university. Rousseau was my childhood painting influence. Under pressure, when I photograph, I must brainstorm, shoot fast, and go with the flow of the animals, and not stress anyone out. No one is trained. When the animals or my daughter were done, the shoot is over. Not until I photographed the swimming pigs in the Bahamas for a New York Times Magazine Voyager assignment did I realize the painter, Rousseau, is always in my head. Sally Mann's dedication gave me the willpower to continue photographing Amelia, despite being advised by several university administrators to stop. I have learned not to engage with negative comments, not to quit what I love, and to tolerate those who judge me and do not know my circumstances. Philip Halsman's photo of Salvador Dali had to be my influence here. Our cat, Hannah, really did like flying. My girls are both brave, tolerant, and smart. Our not brave or coordinated Sphinx child cat, Jacob, played it safe in his cradle. I love deer and identify as a deer in the headlights. Amelia has always had an unspoken, low-key manner with animals. Fashion is now a component in the new work. Emily and Baby, the latter surviving as a triple amputee, was saved by a superhero-loving caretaker. The story of rescued foxes bred at a coat fur farm was published in National Geographic. The rescued bobcat was an outtake bred on the fur farm for coats. This was part of my Guggenheim Fellowship project on caretakers and those they rescue. I am attracted to specific looks. These are my current dogs. I love the unique rescued gray-headed flying fox bat with a genetic mutation. Again, the Guggenheim Fellowship enabled me to go for my dreams and photographed rescued flying foxes in Australia. My first photographic hero, Eugene Smith's work, is in my head. His empathy and respect for whom he photographed guides me to photograph caretakers. This rescued flying fox bat with his broken back being devoured by maggots did not survive. I always think they will make it. Some died in my hands. A Time magazine editor believed in me for the story of Travis, 30, a veteran, and Ziggy, 29, for the story Strong, Smart, Service Monkeys Give a Helping Hand to People with Quadriplegia. Travis, medically fragile, was home alone during the day. Ziggy saved his life multiple times as he retrieved a dropped cell phone so Travis could call for help. That was an edited version of the SVA presentation. My friend Nancy Berwick thought I should add publication assignments after my cancer diagnosis. My editors kindly waited until I finished the semester to have me photograph the cover for the New York Times Magazine. This was a follow-up to an assignment started a year before. Having the cover was my dream bucket list. Every time my editor called me to plan, I was at a lab undergoing mammograms and biopsies. Just as I was about to fly to cancer at the end of June 2019, the call came that I had breast cancer. I told no one save my husband, went on the assignment, and tried not to think about having cancer in my body. When I returned, my editor connected me with a surgeon at Sloan Kettering in New York. I had aggressive cancer and was started on AC chemo on my birthday the next week. The print cover and digital publications came out a few days earlier. I had a solo exhibition coming up in September at Photoville in Brooklyn. The founders, Sam and Laura, took care of everything. 2 profiles were published on me, a big one on page 2 of the Sunday New York Times. That's supposed to be a big thing. Kathy Ryan, director of photography of the magazine, photographed me and Indy. I needed my dog. A Google ad with my New York Times Magazine cover ran for a year. It took me 9 months to realize they forgot my credit line. They edited it. Indy went to all 5 months of chemo and subsequent 17 infusions. I did not have a port. I have needle PSD. With AC chemo, 10 days after you start, your hair begins to fall out. That broke me, and I stopped talking for a while. What got me out of bed in April 2020 after surgery, ER visits, and radiation was a Wired magazine photo assignment, shuttered at home. I barely noticed COVID. I had been shuttered for 9 months. I'm immensely grateful to the editor for this gift, whom I met at the New York Times Photo Review the year before. Depressed by my chronic lymphedema, the New York Times helped me mentally with an assignment photographing my cats in our bathroom last April. The article is about Charlie Mingus's pamphlet on potty training his 5 cats. My outtakes on Instagram are funnier. I could not have done this shoot without Amelia's help. This August, 6 photographers went on assignment around the world to photograph their dream vacation, somewhere where tourists could go. I wanted to go to the animal cafes in Seoul, South Korea. I photographed 13 locations in 10 days. Amelia went with me to Seoul, as I was unsure of my health. I wear a compression garment on my hand and arms, and a different one to sleep in. I am on nerve pain and penicillin medications and have limited range of motion in my left arm. I am in love with these raccoons, especially Princess on top. I learned meerkats are a gang of mischievous thugs who like to lay on top of sleeping ferrets. There is so much more to this story. Eventually I will put these and the outtakes on my website. It felt fantastic to be a working photographer again on a big assignment. This helped my sanity and confidence and enabled me to go solo to Istanbul for my exhibition. I am thankful to the editors and curators who trust my eccentricities. CNN emailed me the first inquiry for photos of the year selections about including my work from the self-assignment South Korean cafes in the New York Times Voyager issue. Publication of one of my photographs became real when Time magazine's feature of the top 100 photographs of 2022 was published. I was flabbergasted, thrilled. The same photo had been selected in CNN's email. What really made my heart soar was making the cut for the New York Times Photos of the Year. I was told that few photos from the New York Times Magazine are selected. The publication of a different photo from Time Magazine's selection and that of my favorite, the raccoons, was an added gift. That might be the end.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
remember. I don't remember. But so I
It's
could
the end.
It is the
okay.
end.
So
Great. Thanks, Jay.
I could do my keynote and share my screen.
Yep. It's interesting how both you and Meryl have these inspirations from other artists.
The SVA Theater asked for their that was their assignment to show your inspiration.
Mm,
So that was their thing. It's their program was called Inspired.
right. Okay. There you
So
go.
I follow directions.
Yeah, all right, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Good. All right, so
Um,
share the screen.
Okay. Sure. All right. Let me just play. Whoops. I have to go back. I'm sorry. Uh, I was practicing before. Start from the beginning. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So here we go. Thanks again, Frank. And I still have stage fright, even though I've done this a lot. So I may talk too fast, but at least it'll be over quicker. So thank you again for listening to that audio. It was a couple of years old, and now I really have to talk. There'll be some duplication with my photos from the video. Amelia is my greatest accomplishment, though she does not believe me. But to my absolute amazement, the Amelia and the Animals project is what I am acknowledged for. That said, that is what I will show. I do work on other projects which sometimes overlapped with photos of my daughter. I had not set out to photograph my child. I'm a working mother, perpetually overwhelmed by never-ending deadlines while I attempt to navigate the responsibilities of finally being a tenured professor. I teach photography and general thesis at William Patterson University of New Jersey. I still try to give my now grown daughter what she wants, manage a household, a marriage, my animal companions, and one of them always seems to be defying a death prognosis from a vet, my school responsibilities, and then try to produce art. My office is in shambles, and tomorrow I have to do my taxes. Amelia and my meetings with animals are still profound, complicated experiences that transcend my inadequate explanations, but just maybe, some of the magic we encounter gets into our photos. For me, photographing is all about the experience and then the memories. Every photo has a backstory, which I have little opportunity to share. My first book, Like Us, Primate Portraits, and now the last Aperture book seem to prove to animal people that I am trustworthy. I honor those who trust me. For what I do, trust is everything. I hope to continue relationships. I will start with the backstory of Amelia's and Ricky's chance encounter and how this photo started our ongoing 24-year journey. My primate portrait book gave me street cred, and I talked my way into coming back in the evening to photograph a 2-year-old chimp. Because the location was an outdoor event, I brought my 3-year-old daughter and husband to watch, then go to the fair. It's a blur now, but somehow Amelia and Ricky, a year apart, connected. It was love at first sight, hugging, and a big kissing fest. Ricky and Amelia fell off the chair, holding on to each other, and all there was astounded about how they bonded. I photographed with 2 cameras, my usual black and white film, and on a Lark color film. We gained trust from Amelia and Ricky's interaction and were invited to meet the family's lemur and a pigtail macaque the next day. Amelia was nonplussed when Elmo the lemur flew over her head. I needed advice. I was still in touch with my Pratt Graduate School professor, Phil Perkis. I showed Phil my contact sheets. He told me to photograph Amelia in color, and I have ever since. Phil gave me support and legitimacy to photograph my daughter seriously for a project. Last month, this photograph was up in Tim Barber's Tiny Vices 20th anniversary exhibit at the Hull Gallery in Soho. Of course, I had been photographing Amelia from birth with our household animals. These were just a mother's snapshots. I was lost with new motherhood and not knowing how to be a productive artist. I had too much anxiety to leave my child and travel as I had for previous projects, like my guide photographer friends. Being a small woman, photographing animals, and now my child was not okay, especially with my then university administrators who advised me to stop and more. It was depressing to listen to the discussions each had with me. Maybe I'm just too sensitive and unconfident. What changed my life for the better was an invitation to present my Amelia photographs at the 2012 National Geographic Seminar. From that talk, I got a few editorial assignments, but it was the Guggenheim Fellowship in 2016 that made a difference at school. I am glad that it is acceptable 23 years later for the current generation of mother photographers to document their children, their lives, and struggles. When Amelia was born, my husband quit his framing business and became Amelia's primary caretaker while I worked to secure a steady income and health insurance as a photography professor, commuting 50 miles a day. As said, I was hardwired to be with my daughter as much as possible. Photographing Amelia and animals were the only portraits that made me want to work. For the previous 20 years, I had only cared about photographing animals. Amelia was the newcomer to my life, to my pack. It was confusing to navigate all the advice I was given about raising Amelia, especially about animal contact. The best advice that felt right came from observing primates, skin to skin and eye contact while breastfeeding. Sleeping together was criticized. But how were we to put Amelia in a crib cage alone while we slept with 2 dogs and 2 cats? Our animals were physically next to Amelia and bonded with her like nannies, especially my beloved Whippet Rebecca, who was always tucked in with Amelia at bedtime. No problems getting Amelia to bed. Before Ricky, Amelia was predisposed to liking monkeys through her monkey dolls, one of which was my childhood main squeeze up there in the turquoise. At 2 years old, Amelia made us dance with her toy monkeys. These monkey dolls were taken everywhere. They had distinct personalities and became my grandchildren. A children's book of these photographs will be published this year in Europe. At 2.5, Amelia met little Amelia, and they really liked each other. Amelia was named after this capuchin monkey, whom I had photographed extensively 10 years earlier. A story for another time. My husband says Amelia was named after his grandfather's last name, Emil. That makes it okay for him. Little Amelia died at approximately 45 years old in 2013. This is my Amelia saying goodbye to little Amelia at her funeral. The Amelia and Nora photograph was inspired by Velázquez's Las Meninas painting of the little princess. Amelia, 4 years old, is with our first rescued Chinese crested, Nora. This was the first photo I took after quitting photography after my mother died 6 months earlier. A related story, years before, in 1990, I had written to Mary Ellen Mark on a large test strip of these chimpanzees. She invited me to her studio, looked at my primate portfolio, and referred me to 5 people, including Peter Howe at Life magazine. I ran into Mary Ellen outside the flea market on 26th Street in New York, and I told her I quit photography. I did not tell her why. Mary Ellen sent me her photo of the Eskimo dogs in Vietnam. Maybe this made a difference to start photographing again. My attitude about death and facing my own mortality is dark. I thought that maybe my photos of Amelia, who was so laid back with animals, would be a way to remember me after I was gone. To my regret, Amelia and I are both only children. I was brought up with what might be considered an old-fashioned way, not shielded from illness and deaths. Then my father died suddenly just after I turned 19, and that whacked me out. My first book is dedicated to the memory of my father and my cat brother. Photography has always been my therapy, and of course, animals have always been a necessity for my mental and physical survival. Here are generations of our beloved household cats and dogs. The wedding dress is
One question, Robin, just to give us all a break. How many animals do you have living with you at the moment?
a normal amount, 2 dogs, 2 cats.
Okay. Okay. Great.
That's
So more of the exotic animals, how do we come in contact with them?
I know I'm a photographer. I network.
Okay. So the networking is where? With other people who have these types of pets?
Well, yeah,
Okay. Okay, great. And your daughter is always comfortable in these situations.
I'd be a mean mom if I, yeah, I'm gonna keep going.
Okay.
Um, so, um, the wedding dress is my mother's and mine, and I shredded it at our backyard wedding. I got married at my cat's grave, in that dress. Amelia had mutually loving relationships with her first pack of household animals. Amelia was very protective of our animals, and she's holding Nora here. Jacob, our pink cat child, he was very greasy, the greasy sphinx, and he hated and feared his baths. And we needed those glass doors to keep him in, and he really needed to be bathed like every 2 weeks at least. Jacob slept in our arms, and Jacob loved Amelia to the end. That's 4 days before he died. He was purring with Amelia. Amelia forbade me to make any more pictures referencing paintings of the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus. I'm really into going to the Met, and I feel really inspired by pictures there, paintings. Our beautiful whippet Rebecca was Amelia's sister. Becky had a brain tumor in many of these photos. We took turns sleeping with her on the floor because the seizures left her very disoriented for hours afterwards. And on the last night, Amelia, who was 10 years old, she had to wake us with the worst seizure. Amelia was never again connected like that, like she was with Rebecca. Hannah was our fierce, mischievous, brilliant, petite, oriental short-haired cat, an OSH. Hannah was a diabetic, and we gave her subcutaneous fluids for her kidney failure. She long outlived our veterinarian's prognosis. I felt that Hannah stayed alive out of sheer will for me. She followed me everywhere while I went through chemo, surgeries, and radiation, and it was like we were surviving together. She seemed to wait until I was finished with radiation and then she died.
Oh,
A student told me to go to the Catskill Game Farm. We were happy there. Photography has been a passport to our experiences above all. Beyond the outcome or the images, all these years of photographing gave me, my daughter and husband, the most extraordinary experiences. We met an incredible man, an elephant whisperer, a third generation elephant trainer, and our families connected over the years. At the Catskill Game Farm, we experienced gender differences in deer. Boys are demanding and confident. Girls are gentler, and boys are really very pushy. They wanted to take her apple. Girl deer were shyer and stayed back until the boys were separated from them due to their antlers losing their velvet and being really sharp, sort of dangerous. That's how they fight with sharp antlers when they go into rut. I photographed in situation where caretakers were kind and led us into their lives. They trusted me and I trusted them. Earning trust is paramount, as said before. Amelia made direct conversation with Sheba when she was 3 years old there, and Sheba picked her up on her command over and over again. Tim Barber also just exhibited this old picture because it was in his first book, which he edited for Aperture. We went back to visit Sheba later that summer and found that she had been deported back to Canada for not having the proper paperwork. It took us 3 years to make the trip to visit Sheba again. There we met Pete, a lemur, and that photo is in Aperture's limited editions program. My daughter has always been more than sweet. She's very smart and proud to be physically strong and tough. From early on, Amelia was a real problem solver, and we work as a team, and she puts up with me. Amelia's demeanor with animals is always calm and quiet, and she is very empathetic. She really seems to communicate with animals. Amelia earned this kangaroo Mouse's trust without asking. Amelia placed her hand inside Mouse's pouch and felt a very small Joey, who had not peeked out yet or been checked by that stage by Heather. Heather is an educational caretaker, and she told me she watches how children interact differently with her animals at schools she visits. She said that Amelia had an aura. This was the first time an animal caretaker talked to me about how animals specifically related to Amelia. Heather brought Mouse and her child to our home for a TV shoot. I have an ongoing deer thing, and this is Nifty. She lived to be 15 years old. We visited Dilly three times over a few years. Dilly, partially blind, lived in a house with an extraordinary veterinarian. There's a New Yorker article about Dilly, and she has a book. Some of my photos are in Melanie's book. This is the most beautiful deer girl. Her name is Snowpipe. While doing a 7th grade geography homework assignment researching articles from newspapers in Africa, Amelia found a syndicated article about a two-faced Janus cat named Frank and Louie. I tracked this cat down to Massachusetts. I photographed Frank and Louie and Amelia over 4 years, and my photographs were never good enough. The second and last photo, the last time I photographed, they're both 15 years old. Frank and Louie had 180-degree vision. One mouth was able to eat and the other drooled. Many different species have drooled and peed on Amelia. She's a good sport. Frank and Louie lived to 15 because of the extraordinary care of the Tufts veterinary surgical tech, Marty, who became his forever caretaker. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records as the oldest Janus cat. When Amelia was 10, she wanted to meet rescued primates. Back then, she wanted to be a primatologist influenced by paleontology. I networked through my primate contacts and met Pam. We stayed at Pam's home to save money. 3 years later, Pam and Carlene, another primate caretaker, flew up to attend Amelia's bat mitzvah. I love these women. And last year, I brought a trusted editor to visit them. Breakfast Talk is one of my favorites from this trip.
Robin, one thing, are you styling these different sets and, what Amelia is wearing as well?
Sometimes
Okay.
we play, we try to have fun. This is Rosie, who was a rescue, and she had never eaten fresh vegetables. It was a surprise to see how Rosie took to Amelia, and how she coaxed Rosie to eat one fresh pea at a time. Here starts teen and young woman Amelia and a few from Tokyo last November. This is Savannah. She's a serval cat. This one is called Angelica Touch. Frank is a flamingo, and here Amelia is feeding Daisy, who's being weaned off a bottle. Amelia is bottle feeding rescued orphan fawns, a month away from their mandatory release date, just when hunting season begins. These are our animals again. This is Ruby on the right, and my friend's Whippet, Tippa. This is my Ruby and my current and second rescued Chinese crested, Indy. Yet again, to retain Amelia's interest in working with me, the project had to change, and I had to change. Amelia had to collaborate as a full partner with ideas, and many times she directed me. Amelia loves fashion, so we vigorously hunted thrift shops to incorporate fashion in the photos and to show that we are all the same, animals, the primates, and Amelia. Dog Couture, Anthony Rubio lent us some clothes, and others were made by Carlene. This also is a portion of my Guggenheim project, photographing rescued animals. The We Are All Primates series features 2 rescued primates, and caretaker Carlene welcomed us to stay in her home, generously feeding us and assisting in every way. My intention with We Are All Primates and A Day in the Life series, which isn't shown here, was to make elegant, graceful portraits of Amelia, Emily, and Baby. I always wanted to show a world where the line between humans and animals is blurred, where animals are part of our world and humans are part of theirs. At the beginning of this 4-year project, Emily was 19 and Baby was 11. These portraits are influenced by aristocratic formal portraits from the 16th to 19th century of upper class European and Americans. Going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art regularly really opened me up to photographing Amelia, first with a Mamiya camera. And I used to take Amelia there, and she used to throw her monkey dolls up in the air, and the security guards were really nice. But the security guards at the MoMA wanted to kick us out. I felt that just by being around the paintings, it changed the way I photographed, whether that shows or not. Baby is a triple amputee from a dog attack, missing half an arm and a leg on opposite sides, and half a tail and a frozen middle digit. Carlene tracked down the veterinarian that butchered her surgery, painfully amputating her at the knee joint. Carlene had to introduce Baby to a healthy diet, figuring out that she had been on a barbecued bean diet. Petite Baby would fall asleep in Amelia's arms. Baby passed away in 2022. Just like photographing strays in graduate school, I'm still driven to show our relationships with animals in the hope that these moments convey to viewers essentially our sameness of humans and animals. I do not want to be separated from my daughter, even though we can set each other off in seconds. Meeting animals had been a way to lure Amelia to be with me. I hope she sees these experiences as a gift and another way to remember me. I'm still editing my sabbatical in Tokyo and Istanbul, and here are two from Japan. On the left is Marin. He's a bingtong, which is a cat bear. He really liked Amelia too much. And Mango, a 5-month-old flamingo. They change color when they age. The animal caretakers who allowed us into their world said that they see their own children and their unique experiences with animals through Amelia. Aperture made a video behind the scenes shot by my husband for the Photoville exhibition, and seeing all that footage, it was us. It was incredible. It was so far in the past, yet not that many years ago, and it's a blur, but having the videos and the photos really makes it real.
Rob, how old is Amelia now?
25.
Okay.
She's going to be 26 next week.
Okay.
I greatly miss my little girl, and it hurts to watch young children. My little girl, the one in the photos, is like a nostalgic dream, hard to remember. Like remembering your senior dog as a pup or knowing your parents were really young a lifetime ago. Although I was warned Amelia would grow up in a way fast, I just didn't get it. And as a parent, I'm continually a deer in the headlights. What I understand about myself is that I understand nothing till I experience it, and I'm not very mature. I'm a slow learner, continually figuring out, even at this stage, how to be a mother. And I continually make mistakes, and being a mother is confusingly hard. It was much easier and less painful to be a daughter. Until too late, I saw my daughter's self through a mother's perspective. If only I could apologize to my mother. Only now that I have this mom perspective do I understand how painful and great it is to be a mother. I am proud and in awe of the woman Amelia has become. I'm used to the Amelia who is taller and she picks me up and she corrects me, and I don't like being corrected so much, but a lot of the times she's right. I no longer have the upper hand and we negotiate everything. Amelia and I are life partners in a mother-daughter dance, and photography or a magazine assignment can entice her to be with me for a short period of time. I want to enjoy the privileged experiences we have. We are lucky. Thanks for your patience listening to my story.
And will Meryl do shoots with you, on any kind of regular basis, still at this, at the age of 25?
Meryl?
I'm
Are
not
you
Meryl, Amelia.
Um, Maybe you should ask her. I mean, I try. We just came back from Japan. I was on sabbatical last semester.
Okay.
I think my provost is here. Hi, Josh. So, you know, and I do photograph her. So, is it surprising to you? You ask that she still tolerates me or something?
No, I didn't say tolerate at all. I said, is she still doing shoots with you? That's what I was sort of. And is she off at is she off at university? Just give us a sense of Amelia. Like, what kind of a person is she?
She's an economist that works for the Department of Energy. She's fluent in Spanish. She's very, very smart, and uh, she's she's really very creative, and I
Right,
think she's going to go in that direction, given the politics of, you know, the economy and the Department of Energy.
right.
So, uh, uh, she's
Okay.
really into fashion and design. She's a real problem solver. She can fix anything. I think my dad would have really, really liked her. She's very mechanical. Um, and she's going to be 26. She's been out of college for a long
Wow.
time. Um, so like I said, she's growing old, and I'm growing
Yeah.
old. We're all growing old, you know?
Right. Great. Well, I want to thank you. That was really a fascinating presentation. Really, really terrific. I think, and you also, if you look in the chat room, you'll see a lot of terrific comments. And I see my dear friend Donna is here tonight, so it's great seeing Donna. Um, so, I mean, both of you and Meryl, you could jump back in if you could. Both of you had inspiration from other artists. It's interesting to see how both of you feed off that, right? I mean, it's really interesting. Um, and if anyone has any questions, you could put it in the chat room, or you can just, we can unmute everybody. So if you want to just jump in or raise your hand, to ask any questions that you may have, now would be the time. But everyone loves both of your presentations.
Sorry if I talk too fast. I get nervous.
No, yeah, no, you're absolutely fine. Yeah, you're absolutely fine. I think everyone, got a lot of information out of that presentation. For me, it's really interesting to see how, using a friend, a child, a mate, through this whole process was so engaging. Meryl, it isn't different than using your family, right? What using is probably the wrong word. Documenting your family as part of your creative explosion, your creative journey, right? I mean, there's so many similarities to that, and in that same category of a Sally Mann and Arbus and on and on and on. It's right. I mean,
I had no choice. I really felt like I had no choice at the time. You know, I had to keep producing, to do research, to, keep my job, to get it.
right. So that was sort of the way that sort of developed. You needed your daughter, and she was a perfect.
I needed to do something, and I was depressed. It's like hard having a kid and juggling. It's really hard to juggle, and I really give, mother photographers. I see Nancy's here. Hi, Nancy. It's a really hard juggle, and I wanted to do something meaningful and not just, photograph doorknobs or something.
Right.
Perfect.
Your daughter is very, very beautiful
Yeah.
from very young till now.
Thank you.
Yeah. 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 There's our friend Nancy. Um, yeah. So, Meryl, I mean, can you relate to using now again, I don't know why I use the word collaborating with your family as a terrific resource for the projects that you're working with,
No
right?
comparison, Robin. Would you capture the love and the beauty that you shared is
Oh,
gorgeous, gorgeous, intense, and the animals. No comparison.
well, I'm a pack animal,
Pack, okay. Yeah.
part of a pack,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. You really, you both have to look into the chat room. There's so many nice comments. Um, so, Robin, where does this project go? Does it continue? Do you see an end to it, or it's a life's work as you relate to you collaborating with your daughter?
I don't know. I'm just waiting for this semester to be over and I have a lot to edit. I went to Istanbul without her. My sabbatical was on human cat symbiosis, the reciprocal relationships of cats and people in two non-Western cities. So I'm editing that. There are other projects I want to do, but I haven't been able to travel because I have a dog with congestive heart failure that's outlived her prognosis and I'm waiting for her to die and then I
Right.
can travel. But I love her. And I know that was in my story. There's always an animal like on death's door, but they keep going.
All right. Okay.
I love her.
And Meryl, what's in store for you? Are you continuing to go through
I'm,
your archive?
I'm continuing to make and
Right.
continuing to go, and print. Organizing takes time for me.
Yeah. No, it does. But I mean, you must be an inspiration to all of you, your grandchildren or nieces and nephews, right? Seeing you, banging it out at
Actually,
like a 20-year-old,
thank you.
right?
I
I
have
mean,
my actually very complimented. My great niece,
great
who's
niece.
in kindergarten, had a my did a there was a everyone would speak about important women. And
Yeah.
she would be the Bolson Award.
Oh, that's so nice.
Amelia Earhart and
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was surprised.
Yeah, I mean
It's
that's a great moment, for all of us, right? Like the young ones recognize something is special about my great grandmother, my great, yeah, right? I mean, auntie,
And
right?
So,
Yeah.
Robin, I'd like to know, Robin, for your personal dream goal, of course, the Guggenheim. What tell us whatever you're willing to share about your Guggenheim proposal.
It
Mm.
was it was about caretakers and those they rescue and how they get rescued back. So I've been doing caretakers because that's the people I deal with who rescue animals. And there are a lot of different sections of that series, different people. And I showed Save a Fox, these foxes that got rescued in Minnesota. Actually, National Geographic published it, and it just showed in Italy. And I'm going to go back and photograph. I photographed that before COVID, and when the semester's over, depending on my dog, I'll go back and continue to photograph her saving foxes because things have really changed since after COVID, and her facility has expanded.
Mm. And Rob, can you share anything without giving up any secrets? The network that you have of all these animals, is it zoos in all over places around the world? Is it farms? I mean, anything around that you can share with, like I said, without giving out your trade secrets.
It's all of the above. I mean, things have really changed. I started photographing primates in 1988, and things have changed. I did baby gorillas in my arms at a zoo, but I deal with many private ownerships, and there are some unusual places, some zoos that, like with the giraffes, that I show them my work, I talk to them, I talk my way in, and I give pictures. I always give pictures, and I just people trust me. I don't know, maybe I look non-threatening, I hope so. Um, but it's a networking, and I've said it so many times. It's about being trusted and showing the work that I've already done. And I never do anything that someone would feel that they don't want shown. They I never photographed, and I'm not that into people, right? But now I'm photographing some people with like the caretakers, but I would never do anything where somebody would regret dealing with me, because I would blow it and I'd feel guilty, and I have this guilt and worry thing, like culturally, I have that.
It shows in the pictures. I mean, they're so
Yeah.
beautiful and caring and loving. Just wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grow up with it? Did you grow up with animals?
Um, but I was a latch, I had a lot of cats that got run over, but when I was 10, my mother went to work full time and they let me have a cat in the house to keep me company. He became my brother, and I said I could, Robert, my husband met him, and I got married at his grave in my husband's family's backyard.
And did your daughter know that you were presenting tonight?
Uh-huh. Yes.
And is there a reason she came or didn't come, or would she normally come to a presentation when you do it?
If this was in person, I think she would come, but
Yeah.
I mean, imagine having all this and, all this talk about yourself. I mean, I- you know,
Good to-
I want her to be comfortable, and, I don't embarrass her,
Yeah.
so, um, and, and, questions can be hard,
Oh, okay.
you know.
Right, no, I get it. I get it. All right. Speaking of questions, does anyone else have any questions for Meryl or for Rob tonight? Um,
I just want to thank you. Your presentations were so different, but so wonderful.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were both wonderful, I thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed them both. And so like, I always say to the photographers who present, when you have new work or more work and you want to show it, it's just a phone call, it's just a text. Give me a call. You want to do that. You have new work, or Meryl has a new book. Whatever it is. This platform is always there for you guys because I greatly appreciate you doing this. So that really is really important, and I thank you so much. So with that, we'll let everyone know again. Next week we're going to do 5 nights straight with photojournalists covering the war in Ukraine. So hopefully people can come in and see that if you have the time. It'll be I'm pretty sure for 5 nights, at least certainly the first 4 nights of the week will be. And so again, thanks everyone for coming in, and we will see you next week or next time.